Okay, great. We can go ahead and get started. Thank you for coming to the Yellcrest Community Council meeting. I'm Stuart Bevan, Vice Chair of the council. We appreciate everyone coming. Jen is out tonight, enjoying her night. So our first presenter tonight will be Kira Johnson, and she will be talking about the Sunnyside Park project. So we will have her up, and then after that, it'll be Detective Fallows, and then Hannah, and then Dan Dugan, our council member, will be here around 7 or so. So he'll be the very last one. So we'll turn the time over to Kira. And I think this should, yeah. So yep.
Okay. This is my first time at Yellcrest Community Council meeting. So I've met a few of you at different meetings, but I'm Kira Johnson. I'm a planner for public lands, and I am the project manager over the park project for Sunnyside. And so I'm here to talk a little bit about that project. And Jan had sent me a few questions that she wanted me to cover. So hopefully I cover those, but happy to answer some questions afterwards, or if as I go along the slides, if you have something clarifying about that slide, I'm happy to linger on it a little bit longer. Okay, so a little project background. As I imagine most of you are familiar, in 2022, voters approved the Parks, Trails, and Open Space bond.
Sorry, I need to share the screen.
Oh,
sorry.
Yep.
That's my mistake.
Good call.
There you go. Sorry.
Oh, no, good. I'm going to move the people out of the way. All right. So Parks, Trails, Open Space bond for $85 million. One of the projects within the bond is each council district gets $1.5 million. They could select 1 to 2 parks or trails or open spaces within that council district to invest in. And based on priorities that were in the East Bench Master Plan and Reimagine Nature, Councilmember Dugan selected Sunnyside Park and Donner Trail Park within Council District 6 to receive that funding. And so a little bit more about that funding. So is from the bonds, if you just kind of split the council district funding in half, is $750,000 for each park within the council district. So $750,000 for Donner Trail Park, $750,000 for Sunnyside Park. And then as the University of Utah, with their baseball stadium changes and the lease agreement that happened with the city, they are also contributing the $4.2 million. So that increases that. That's a done deal. It is a done deal. Yeah. As far as I'm aware, yeah, the agreement. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I believe it's inside. Yeah. But I can. So that increased the project budget to just shy of $5 million. And these funds can be used for infrastructure improvements to the park, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as well. I'm not going to linger on this one because it's not part of my project, but as you're aware, the University of Utah has their baseball stadium that they're building. Here's the project manager contact info. So if you do have questions about the University of Utah's project and their stadium, Justin would be the one to talk with. And like I said, that's not a part of my park project. So I don't have answers necessarily to the details of that. Oh, like you take the picture. It's easier to take pictures. No, totally. Yeah. And then there's also their project website that you can refer to as well to get updates on what's happening there. Okay, so a little bit more about this project scope, what can be done within the Reimagine Sunnyside Park project. It's an opportunity to update this community space. It's funding for capital improvements. So that could include sports amenities, picnic and leisure amenities, trails, pathways, natural areas, open spaces, playgrounds, or any other ideas that the community has. What the project is not, as I already mentioned, it's not an opportunity to revisit the University of Utah's lease agreement. This is just focused on the park improvements. And it's also not money that's going towards ongoing maintenance. That comes out of a separate fund. So like I said, just reiterating, it's basically funding for those capital improvements for the park. This is the boundary of the park with that 1.125 acres taken out for the University of Utah's baseball stadium. So it changed this boundary right here. We still have like 28 acres to work with. So the next part will just be talking about what we've been doing so far engagement-wise. And we have been working with the Langdon Group. We contracted with the Langdon Group, who are public engagement specialists, and they provide services. They've created a strategic engagement guide. They've provided high-level key messaging. They've provided the outreach collateral, and they've helped facilitate outreach. The reason why we decided to go with a consultant for engagement is because engagement takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of time, and we have limited staffing. And so we wanted it to be robust. And so they've helped with those conversations and making sure that we're capturing the community's desires and giving it adequate attention. We've also reviewed the East Bench and the Reimagine Nature master plans and tried to pull those key ideas that I'm sure a lot of you participated in those processes, already communicating what you're wanting in these spaces. And so trying to understand from like a high level point of view, what are some improvements that have already been suggested within these areas. And now that some of the engagement opportunities have already happened and some of the ongoing ones. Oh, is that you? Superstar. So some of the events, the University of Utah had an open house for their project, and we just attended to talk about, to field any of the questions about the park and to help encourage people to participate in those conversations. We had a key stakeholder meeting. In that meeting, we had representatives from different sports organizations, nearby schools, some of the community councils within the area, and the Veterans Hospital boundaries that as well. And that was once again just trying to understand how these organizations are using the park and how they would like to see it renovated and reinvigorated or reimagined. And then we held a public workshop, which several of you attended. We were at the 9th Street Festival, had a lot of folks come through. We had different posters and banners that people were able to comment on and encourage people to take the survey. We've been at the Downtown Farmers Market promoting it, and this is the second of 3 community councils that will be attending. We reached out to all the community councils in the area: Yellcrest, East Liberty Park, Foothill Sunnyside, East Central. Trying to think of all the others. Yep, Bonneville, yep. Wasatch Hollow. So we've reached out to all of those, invited them both to the key stakeholder and also invited them or offered to attend their meetings. So far we've gone to Sugar House. We're here with you all at Yellcrest, and I'll be at East Bench next week presenting. The other ones never responded, but if any of you know representatives from there, we're still happy to attend. Some of the other strategies that we've had, we have a banner posted at the park promoting the survey. We have the survey, and I'll provide a link for that. And I also have flyers. We've done a lot of social media posts and also boosted ads to help target people in this area or people using the park to encourage them to take the survey or attend the events that we've been at. We sent out mailers to every household within a 2-mile radius of the park. And we wrote a press release, and there was 2 articles written so far about the park project. KSL and KUER both wrote articles. So those are some of the ways that we've tried to get the word out. And if you'll have other ideas, I'm we're always trying to do as much as we can. It takes a lot of work. And it's hard when we're like so inundated with the project. I feel like I don't know how people could miss that this is happening, but we want to make sure that everybody who wants to have their voice shared within this project, we want to give them an opportunity. So if you have neighbors, like I said, I have flyers here that you're welcome to grab some and share, post on your social media, etc. Jan asked what we're hearing generally, and I just want to like preface this by saying this is still preliminary results. You can say that we kind of boiled it down to like the top 3 things that we're hearing, but obviously these are still potentially subject to change because people can still take the survey. But the main things that we've heard from the key stakeholder meeting and from the survey so far, 1, to create a park that has amenities for all ages and also more diverse interests. 2, that people want there to be sports amenities still. And also we're hearing a lot that people want to increase that green space, a lot more trees, and especially adding more natural areas to the park. Especially around the Red Butte Creek area. There's been a lot of conversations about like that part of the park becoming more of a natural area. So that's been a repeated theme. Like I said, this is still like before the survey has wrapped up, but these are themes that we keep hearing within our engagement. Project timeline. So right now we're in the first public engagement opportunity. The survey will wrap up October 21st. And at that point, we will analyze and synthesize the survey data and all the other engagement that we've done and the voices that we've heard. And I would imagine that a report will be shared back within a couple of weeks, 1 to 2 weeks, I would say, of that survey being closed. And that report will be published on our project website, and we'll share it back with the people that have signed up for updates, and we'll send it to the community councils to share out as well. We have a consultant who will help with developing the concept designs. So what that means is that all the feedback that we've heard from these engagement opportunities, they'll take that and put them into some images and some designs of like what that looks like in the park. We have JUB working for us. Yeah. So they'll put those into some concept designs, still like nothing final, but just an opportunity to visualize what we've been hearing. And we'll present that back to the community to get your feedback, to say, we feel pretty good about this, or I would like to see more of this, or I would like to see this changed, etc. So that would be the second engagement opportunity, which we anticipate happening in the winter.
You said winter 2024.
Oh, yeah, 25. It should be 25. That's a human error right there. I'm the human. Yep. So the concept designs, we'll be working on those like as soon as the engagement data is finalized. So that'll be sort of like late fall, November, December this year, probably going into early January potentially. And then we'll be sharing back, and then at that point, we'll synthesize the data from the second round of public engagement, and we'll create a final plan, a final concept design that we'll present back. And once that has been like given the approval generally from the community of like, yeah, this looks generally like what we're hoping for, then we'll start going into the further design documents and construction documents, and eventually the bidding and the review and whatnot. And then hopefully the construction by 2026, mid 2026. Obviously, as I'm sure everyone here knows, like the schedule's subject to change. There's factors that can delay also hopefully speed track, but optimistically hoping for mid 2026 construction. Here is a QR code for the survey if you haven't taken it already. And I also have flyers, or there's that website that you can visit, which takes you there. And I think that's it. So I'm happy to answer any other questions. Oh, yep. Yeah. I can also give you a flyer too.
Did you address what questions Jan Okay.
Yeah.
That's what
I tried to answer all the questions that she put. Okay. Yeah. Yes.
So is the land along the creek on the east side of the park, part of the park? Where's the park boundary? Does it go
Yeah,
all the
it's
way
sort
up
of a
to the
part of it.
LDS property?
Actually, in fact, there's this corner right here, which is used for the park, is actually technically the LDS church's property. But I don't know why it's so dark right there. It's a lot more legible on the screen. But so there's part of Red Butte Creek that is within the park boundary, and then part of it that's the LDS church, and then part of it is the VA. Perfect. Yeah.
What is the status of that land?
I'm not sure. I'm not a part of those conversations. From what I understand, there's interest. The city obviously has interest in purchasing that land from the LDS church.
What role does he
Like interest wise in that property, or they pay for. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it sounds like you might know more than me. Yeah.
You're talking about the land behind the church? Which land? Yeah. Behind the church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on the corridor on both sides of the creek is the interest of the city on the line.
And
the property right.
And that's been like in a lot of plans, like transportation East Bench to have some kind of trail along Red Butte. So there's a lot of interest.
Well, unless that land is acquired, there's an opportunity to
Totally. Yeah.
Did somebody bid on this? Did they bid on?
For helping with like the engagement and the concept designs. So our engagement is an on-call contractor, so they went through a bidding process a couple of years ago, and so they're kind of in this pool of engagement specialists that we're able to select from. And then the JUB, we're working through a sole source contract, so we didn't have bids that we could get that done quicker, rather than the bidding process can take like 4 to 5 months sometimes. But then once we're done with the final design, we will have to go out to bid because it will be too high of a dollar amount to do through the on-call or sole source contracts.
It's hard to make suggestions. Much certain parts of the project actually cost.
Totally.
It gives us a better idea.
Yeah. And when we do the concept designs, those will be cost estimated. And so the things that we're presenting will be like what could actually happen. And because yeah, I agree that it is like we can dream really big, and $5 million can only go so far. It's much better than $750,000, but even still, it won't be like a total scrapping of the park and a start anew. It will be more of like certain parts of the park reconfiguring, redoing, renovating in some way.
Last time we have a meeting where we talked about the baseball field in the church.
It's not a part of the project because it is the church's property unless we're able to acquire it. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
People there, a pension fund that was planned in 1984 after the floods in that area to the extreme southeast corner where they do and goes under the street.
I imagine that you were probably the one that wrote that comment with our engagement that we've done. I hadn't heard of it before seeing that comment.
I think that has a lot of benefits. It's just not simply a nature area for the park, but it would also ensure year-round flow in the middle park, which doesn't happen now. Because not all of it can be whatever they want anytime they want. But if you drive out, we haven't had birds out there for long.
Yeah.
And then it also requires flood control.
Great. Yeah, well, thank you for making this work. Awesome. Thank you. Any other questions?
Just to follow up on that, yeah. I mean, if you look at the topography along that creek, it's not natural. Okay. They widened it on the north side of Sunnyside there,
Mhm.
basically, because they were worried about bridging dam. And, you know, especially before they fixed it. And so the idea was to have an area where you could capture water that got released from the dam.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's not a natural looking stream, but if you look at it carefully, it's hard to tell now because it's all grown in the trees.
Right.
Yeah,
I think that happened, didn't that happen around 84, 85?
When the flooding happened then,
probably,
or after the flooding?
probably, yeah. I mean, at that point, it was obvious because they just pulled us to a lot, but now it's all.
They opened it up so they could get in there and clean out the debris, but they didn't do what they intended to do. They just provide a reservoir for water supply for right now. Water coming down to the administration and all that.
Right, well, thank you.
And that may be something that utilities would do.
Right.
Very conservative.
Yeah, yeah, well, we have the notes that you wrote down, so we'll try to look into that as much as we can and see how it can be incorporated.
Great, thank you, Kara.
Yeah. I stopped the share, but
Okay.
I'll let you.
Yes, thank you.
I'm gonna put these flyers right here.
Okay, and now Detective Fallows can come up. So I think you can unmute yourself and yeah, there we go.
Can y'all hear me okay?
Let me turn the speakers up 1 second. Okay, hopefully that's loud enough. So
Perfect. All righty. Well, thank you for having me. I'm Detective Sam Fallows, for those of you that may not know me. I'm the community liaison detective for districts 5, 6, and 7. And so Yellcrest, of course, is in District 6. And so tonight I'm just going to report on some of the crime stats for the neighborhood. Just give a few little updates and reminders. And then if anybody has any questions at the end or online, just throw them up in the chat for me. And I'll get to those. So for looking at the crime stats for the month of September, we saw a pretty steady decline in most of the crimes across the board. We only had 2 total crimes reported to us in the area of Yellcrest. One was a vehicle burglary and the other was a regular theft. So when we're kind of looking at year to date and the 3-year average, overall, so because Yellcrest generally does not have a ton of crimes reported, the violent crime's up a teeny bit right now just because we went from 1 to 2. So it's like 100% increase, but it's not really. Obviously, it's still very low numbers. And then the property crime is down 62.5% right now over the 3-year average. So those numbers are looking pretty good. When we look at the total between both, we're down 58.9%. And we can kind of see this in the numbers, but I also want to make sure that we're getting accurate statistics for the neighborhood. And so one thing I've been just trying to talk about in each of my community councils is just to make sure that we are reporting even like the smaller, pettier crimes, because those help me and they help the city kind of direct resources and things like that, and let us know where we're having an issue. There's a few different ways you can report those. Obviously, you can call the non-emergency and an officer can come by your house, or they can call you and take a report over the phone. And then also, you can file them online. We have a newer system we're working out some of the bugs, but so it hasn't been perfect. But there is an online reporting system from our website, which is slcpd.com. And you can file an online report for lots of different things like just minor thefts, vandalisms, things like that. To get those reported for the neighborhood. And And then also, you know, we're starting to come into the colder season, so we want to keep an eye on the motor vehicle thefts. We don't tend to see a ton of those usually. Let's see, the prior year we had 5 in Yellcrest, so it's not a ton, but it's just a good reminder to make sure we're not leaving our vehicles unattended while they're warming up when it gets colder and colder. If you do have your vehicle warming up, please, you know, either utilize the auto start feature or be with your vehicle so that it doesn't get stolen. And then I think it was last year, or the year before, we did have some theft trends of motor vehicles where people were leaving extra keys and or fobs in the cars as like a backup, and people, you know, suspects were breaking in and then finding the fob and taking the car. So just try and do everything we can to mitigate becoming victims of some of these crimes of opportunity. That's what most of property crimes are, just crimes of opportunity. And, you know, take out things that are of value in our vehicles, any extra keys, our wallets, things like that. If you have a garage that you can utilize, put your vehicle in the garage at night. Make sure you turn on your lights at night to light up the area as much as possible, and just take those smaller steps that can definitely help in a big way. So it looks like I did have a question in the chat. What are electric bikes as far as young kids driving them? They are way too young to get a motorbike, but I see more and more on these new bikes. Yeah, the electric bikes are hard because they kind of fall in between. They're not motorcycles, so you know, juveniles can utilize them, but they're also not necessarily like just regular bikes. So it is a complicated, it's a complicated situation right now. But yeah, I have to look into that a little bit more because I've had a couple of questions about the e-bikes, the electric bikes with juveniles, but it is kind of it's a newer thing, so it's kind of falling in some of the cracks with the laws and the ordinances. But I am kind of looking at that a little bit more. Is there any other questions in the audience there or the chat?
No, doesn't look like it.
All righty. Well, if y'all need anything, you know, my contact info, Jan has that or should have it on the page there and everything. So feel free to reach out to me if you need anything. Otherwise, we'll see y'all next month.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. I'll share my screen. In presenter mode on my computer, but not on the screen. Oh, all right. Well, we'll just look at it like this. Hi, everyone. I'm Hannah from the mayor's office. Just a couple updates for everyone. Oh, no, I think it's like frozen. Let me, sorry, one sec. All right, we'll figure it out. Okay, first I wanted to let everyone know that the sustainability division in the city is doing a landscaping equipment exchange for fall and winter equipment. You probably remember this program from the spring, but it's a chance for folks to apply to get a voucher and then trade in any gas powered equipment that you have in exchange for an electric piece of equipment. So this fall, they're doing leaf blowers, snow blowers, and electric snow shovels, which do exist. I didn't know what they were, but if you Google them, they do exist. So that is going to open up in mid-October. There isn't an official date right now, but if you go to the sustainability website, which is just slc.gov/sustainability, you'll be able to see when they open that up. It is a lottery-based system to be more equitable, and the applications are typically open for about a week. Just so you don't have to worry about like waiting by your computer for when the application's open. You can submit an application anytime during that period, and then it'll just be drawn for the same number of people in every district. And it's a great chance to clean our air and get some new fun tools. So you can still apply for the voucher even if you don't have gas equipment to exchange. It's just a slightly smaller voucher if you're not recycling equipment, but still would be helpful in purchasing some new electric stuff.
So I have an electrical that runs on 100 foot extension.
Wow.
It's very difficult. Cheap.
Okay. Sorry, I don't know what's wrong with my PowerPoint, but don't look at the previews. I don't want to be spoiled for you. I'm just kidding. On October 1st, the ACE grant opened in the mayor's office. It's a grant that we use to fund arts, culture, and entertainment throughout the city. The exciting thing is, in the past, this bucket of money has been $200,000, and council increased that budget by 50%. So we have $300,000 this year to fund different events throughout the city. Big and small, we do ice cream socials, all the way up to like Pride and Salt Lake City Marathon. So if you're interested in hosting an event in Yellowcrest, or really anywhere in the city, feel free to apply. There's the QR code there. I'm realizing that in-person info session already passed. But if you go to the mayor's office website, there is a recording of a virtual info session. So you can watch Katie Schnell in our office talk about the ACE grant. But you can also email ace@slc.gov if you have any questions. But it should be a really simple application. And it's exciting to be able to fund more events this year. All right. Sorry about this. Okay. Next, UTA, it has a study out right now looking at potentially changing some track lines. The big change, I think, would be adding in a route from the airport up to the University of Utah directly. You can also see they're looking at adding some track in Research Park and adding some track down in the Granary District. I believe going over to the ballpark area. So they are accepting they're accepting comments and feedback up until October 12th. So just in a couple days here. But if you go to techlinkstudy.com, you can submit feedback.
Yeah, this one will take us all the way to the airport, changing trains and everything.
Right.
And then, one of the ideas is also to, as that little square box on the far east side is, maybe a line that goes into the Research Park area where the old, near the Everson left and, Sullivan's area was, somewhere in that area. Make the opposite there so they can get, and then really clean up the downtown, so there's all the 90-degree angle turns that the tracks have to make. Where on the equipment, where on the tracks, and also slow down the chance. So, and a lot more heavier on maintenance. So they're trying to reduce some of those 90-degree turns and then bring it into more like a centralized area for buses. So there's a couple good options. Read through it, make comments. That was developing itself whatever today.
That's interesting, Dan, because about 100 years ago, that's how the trolleys did it.
We do need actually.
Big sweeping curve.
Yeah.
But why not? Stations that.
There's some parking there also, but again, a lot of it, like the university has its parking, they do want to have some parking area, and they've also doing development around those stations. So they're janitorial development area to bring people so that you need fewer cars, you think you can walk on the station, but they do also have larger parking spots. Because if you ever go downtown and if you ever take a tour and take you all the way to the top of the city building, and you look down, you'll see a sea of this parking.
But if you want to take tracks from the university, like the football stadium.
I mean, park the stadium, that's why park the stadium.
Not for, I mean, there's very few spaces.
Yeah, not for ordinary people.
No, I mean, it's. But it's not for like, if I want to go away for a week or whatever, it's.
Yeah, there's, when it, see, it might be one of those things where if you're gonna go away for the weekend, you just take your Uber there, but it really is to get also the business traveler too, in and out, without getting a car. So there's a lot of benefits to that, and then one of the benefits is that we can reduce the amount of cars and then reduce the amount of parking.
But there have been some studies on how many people in Research Park would use that as a road.
We haven't done that part, but if you think about the Research Park area and what they're looking to do in the area, and then you take Research Park and you fly in the airport, you take tracks, Research Park, you drop off, you do your business, you go to Marriott, you stay at the Marriott, you get back on tracks, you never touch a car. Then you have everything you need. For businesses and for the university, bringing people in, and for us. Uber to that. Don't park your car, you don't have to worry about a car in the airport and spend all that money out there. Come back here, basically.
So, I have a question, I don't, so if it just stopped at the bottom, that would be good, but we need, shuttles to go up to the Natural History Museum and Redwood Gardens, which is over a million visitors a year. It's huge, and it's a very steep hill to go walk.
I'm not gonna, you gotta do four small steps first,
Well, I'm just saying.
but you're right,
Yeah,
absolutely,
the
yeah.
university would be nice because they're both really in university, right?
Yeah, right now, we're gonna get it. I bet you in a couple of years, we'll have a bus through.
So they're going to reroute the light rail on the south side, right, the bisexual side of the money in the first place.
No, I think they're gonna go around the backside, and the reason, and I think part of the reason was just the conflict on this south of having it in the middle of the street there. And I think it's also the expense of doing that, or to keep it where it is. Now, you're gonna do the next thing on the hill, no, you're gonna go on the other side of east side of the tower. But you can look at the text study, because I think they had some discussion on that, learn on bicycles. So I always wanted to go to, I think the design is better to go to the, but we're also looking at, the idea is that we're getting around about it at Sunnyside Dress Tube, near the zoo. And that will allow the buses to turn around and allow us to get buses to the bridge, because we're gonna want to, go there on Saturday afternoon on the bus, really crazy place to do, yeah. So sorry.
Thank you. No, don't apologize. Thank you. Last, I just want to let everyone know there's going to be 2 bonds on your ballot. Ballots get mailed out, I think, next week, October 15th. I'm not here to tell you how to vote on those bonds, but I am here to share information. One is Salt Lake City School District looking to rebuild both West and Highland High School. And because they would be building new athletic facilities for both of those schools, they would want to build a new field house for East High School so that they would have the same resources. So there is a one-sheeter over on the table to learn more about that bond. On their website, they have arguments both for and against the bond, so you can read both of those. And they do have an open house at Highland High School on Wednesday, October 23rd, 6 to 8 p.m. I think it's just in the commons, the south doors by the flagpole. Yeah.
They weren't very specific about it. It was very helpful to do that.
Yeah, I don't know that they have thought it that far out. I think they probably want to secure the funding first before they develop those plans. But I'm sure there's contact information on the one pager, I believe, for folks at the district that might be able to answer more specifically about that. The other bond is coming from Salt Lake County. And they are looking at consolidating the county jails and adding more mental health beds, and then building something called a Justice and Accountability Center. There's way more details on the one sheeter over there. It's a front and back side. So I don't have all the information on that, but important to be informed so you can be prepared to vote on those things. And then lastly, I just wanted to highlight that the city has transitioned our email addresses from slcgov.com to just slc.gov. So if you have like different filters on your email, you might want to double check that, because you will start getting emails from all of your friends at the city from slc.gov. They are still rerouted right now. So if you email slcgov.com, it's totally fine. But just want to be mindful of that.
We have had some issues where some of it might have been spelling people's names, but also some like, hey, I've been blocked out. I've been, I sent just emails to this guy, it's not,
Yeah.
BBC or trying to get kickback, get a hold of me, call me, because I messed up.
I sent a bunch to public lands and they said it's blocked.
Yeah.
So that's probably not right, but it's also, I found out that sometimes when we change it, people spell the name wrong, and it's like, really, names.
I've done it.
Yeah.
Well, we all did it, you're not the only one.
And you're Daniel, not Dan.
I'm both.
Oh, I was different.
I usually go by Dan, but I did also sometimes Dan, but Dan, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, but.
Yeah,
It's like.
because I screwed that up when 4 years ago. Figure this out,
Cool. Does anyone have any questions for me? Great. Thanks, everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Thanks.
Appreciate, thanks for being here. Yeah, love to have it, love seeing it, great. So Immigration Canyon, there's a development that was on the top of Immigration Canyon. It was supposed to be presented on this past Tuesday's work session meeting. The developer who's putting in for the rezone was unable, he had an emergency, couldn't do it, so we've now postponed that work session until sometime in November.
Project that's below the 18 feet now.
Yeah, it's the one, if you go past Rotary Glen and just as there's a historic marker there and there's a left-hand turn. Yeah, that location right now. The developers asked for a rezone from FR1 or FR2 to RMF 75. The planning, like a year and a half, 2 years ago, we pushed hard against it. Planning asked a bunch of questions about the slope and the design. They pulled their request. They resubmitted the request for a new rezone. It was heard at planning. A lot of good comments from the all different people, and the planning commission had unanimously recommended not to approve the rezone. That's my position. And if you look at the application and the reasoning behind the planning commission, they also have some negative feedback from fire, negative feedback from transportation, negative feedback from public utilities with their concerns on that location.
And that reason that guy has that property is sold land trade.
Yep.
And it's very, very imprudent, I would say. He's probably gonna go bankrupt because he bought property for a lot more than he did. And the city has a role in that. The public utility draws water from the spring right there, working on the freeway. And so they, the Laura's worried about it too, so.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also,
It's just a terrible project.
yep, exactly. And it's right across.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's also, it's right near the floodplain there, and the creek runs right through the majority of and they have steep slopes. So there's a lot of negative side to that. And I'm not for it, so. Just letting you know it's been postponed.
What can be done in that?
FR2 are big lots. They're I think they're greater than a quarter acre lot, and it could actually per by right now, I think you could build up to 7 or 8 units there. Now a majority of that lot also is greater than 30 degrees slope, so they couldn't build on that. But they could, I think that if you look through the reports, I think they could build a half a dozen or more, maybe units. Yeah, I don't know what that is, but that's not what they want. So they want RMF 75, which allows them to build pretty high and pretty dense. The city council, as you're all probably aware, that we approved the sales tax on the SEG property downtown. There's okay, it's quite all right.
Why is it that Salt Lake City residents are the ones that are taking the brunt of that? Well, it's a multiple county-wide facility. People from Valley are going to come to the hockey game.
Everybody's going to come to the hockey game, and 70-80% of the sales tax revenue is generated from people that are outside of Salt Lake City, and it's also state bill. State bill said this is going to be Salt Lake City taxes.
The disincentive for us to go.
So the 0.5 sales tax is not on food. So it's not on food. There's some emails floating out that it's on food. It's not on food. It's not on the food tax. So
Much fun, so much stuff.
Understood.
It's too much all at once, and frankly, it's public utilities, Rocky Mountain Power, holy moly. Do you want people coming so?
yes, we do, and I think, and we also want Salt Lake City businesses. There's a lot of good public benefits for building that area, and without that area, the one thing different from this project compared to other projects in other cities and stuff, we already have a team downtown called the Utah Jazz, and Utah Jazz generates a lot of revenue for the city and for the state, and that's at a location, and it's a seasoned location. They already have a team there. They can move it anytime they want. They can build someplace down in south.
Everybody else, hockey can do it anytime they want.
No,
Every man that-
now the hockey can't move it anytime they want, because it'd be a great penalty for them to move.
No.
There,
No.
but the hockey just started just on Tuesday. So that should start. There's also a lot of public benefits of that area. We also pressed that we were gonna keep Bravo Hall. The county also passed a resolution, the county, council also passed a resolution to keep Bravo Hall, and we also included UMOCA, which is a museum of contemporary art in those locations, because those are vital. Japantown will also get, some support there, which we've been neglecting for years. The downtown area, if you ever walk in that Salt Palace area, there's nothing there. And that right now, it's kind of a void for anything to go around it and for businesses to grow. So there's some big economic benefits. And if you were to lose that team, that area, then now we would have a hole in that area, and there's nothing going to get developed. And so now you're going to be sinking ourselves and losing a lot of revenue that's generated from outside residents coming in here. The public benefits on youth sports, public benefits on housing, public benefits on the economic side of the house is greater. And I think it's going to be a blessing for us to have that.
I mean, I get there.
Yeah.
How many hockey games, home hockey games, and how many home jazz games per year?
There's about there's 87 games in a basketball season. If you get to the playoffs, you're going to say 100. So you're going to say 50 of each, about 50 of each. And they're so they
much more than that. It's
They-
and it's put on as a downtown spending.
well, I actually the idea behind this. So you're taking one part of it,
Well, I'm just saying.
right?
we
And
need to-
understood, but that is one block of it, and that's 100 nights a year. So 1/3 of the nights a year is sports. They also have concerts here. They also have conventions there. They also, yes, at the Delta Center, they have a lot of things go on to Delta Center. They generate right now over $380 million a year in sales tax revenue. That will increase to the hockey team. It also, that's just that portion of the block. That's the sports side of the house. Then there's the entertainment and the district right there. Then there's the culture side of the house, which is the Bravo and UMOCA. And then there's the convention. The convention center is huge, it's outdated, and it actually hampers anyone from walking from, say, the gateway side of town to the other side of town, because you have to walk blocks without seeing anything. And that is a difficult thing, because if you ever go to big cities, your mind and your body is activated. You don't know, you just walked a mile. Around the Salt Palace, you walk 2 blocks because you can't wait to get to where you want to go, because there's nothing there but a wall. So that's part of that whole downtown. So it's multiple influx of sales tax and convention dollars there. So the convention center also will take years to do anything, because they're already writing contracts for 5 years down the road. So that's going to take a long time before we see any growth there. But you're going to see the other portion of that area get activated, and then now you can see some activation on one south around Japantown and across the board there. There's a lot of moving pieces here, but because we already have a sports team, that's where the benefit side of the house is. If there was no sports team and we were just putting one in there, I would be very reluctant to do that, because I would think that would be a sinkhole. But we already have a Delta Center. They've already put money into it, and then they're going to put more money into it themselves. So the ball's in the court of the county to work with the state and the SCG group on the Bravo Hall and on the convention center and UMOCA. They have to work that, because that's on county land. We're supporting them, and the county's also supporting them keeping the Bravo Hall. That is a gem we need to keep right there. There were some questions some people had some questions about the stabilization fees and on the water, stuff like that. So we're all residential units. We're all assume that we're all single family home zones, and I'm assuming we're all medium sized users. Our stabilization fees, all stabilization fees are going to go up from approximately, these are just the basic fees for a medium user of water and sewer and stuff, from $139 a month to $163 a month, so a $24 a month thing. So your stabilization fee for the water side of the house is $10.18 a month. The fee for the actual water usage fee went up a little bit more than that. Overall, it's about $24 a month for us. So about 20%. So send me your bill or send me your address and I'll get the PL out, because your water shouldn't go on any different unless you have for some reason a big pipe going to your house with a meter. It should be 3/4 meter pipe, and it's $10.18 for the stabilization fee.
Minus 30 for water stabilization fee, 20 for sewer.
So send me your address and your bill. We'll look at that, because that you may have a different size pipe, which would be, I'm not sure why you would have a different size pipe.
But okay, that's
Yeah,
actually-
because
it's-
For a 3/4 inch pipe. Yep. Send me your address. I won't be looking at your bill.
Thanks.
Public utilities can do that.
But it's all in the-
So send me your information and I'll let them know. And then that's the reason why I brought that out, is because of your email. I'm working on the homeless side of front. I'm working with Sean McMillan, who is the executive director of First Step Housing, of having a East Bend community discussion on homeless and what the city is doing with the homeless side of the house. There's a lot of things going on across the city and across the county on the homeless side. And First Step Housing, he's a D6 resident. He's the executive director of the First Step House on 5 East and 4 South, between 4 and 5 South. We're coordinating a date and an event with our Andrew Johnson of our homeless group to kind of bring the community together and educate the community on what's going on for the homeless from Salt Lake City standpoint, and what we're doing right now from our standpoint, what the county's doing on the mental illness side of the house, and what the state's doing, and how we're working together to alleviate the burden of the homeless side of the house. So don't have a date yet, but we're looking at a couple hour event and inviting everybody in there to ask questions and kind of educate people on that side of the front. Micro shelters. We have a micro shelter unit going in, micro shelter, the 50 units going in place underneath about 700 south and west. The freeway, 50 units. We had it last year for 9 months. It worked really well. We're moving this to state land. State's taking over it now, and they're starting to populate those micro shelters. It worked out really well. Our intent at this go is to move people out of the shelters that are full-time workers. We have workers, people who are working full-time, living in a resource center. They kind of reserve a bed for them because they know they're working and they can't come back every day at a certain time to get to bed. So they actually live in the resource center, but they work full-time. We're looking to find some of those individuals and move them into the micro shelters. Micro shelters give them a little more safety, a little more security, and so that and also maybe a little bit help their mental health, so that they can try to get out of that situation. And then that will clear up resources. Our resource centers and our homeless BOA centers and stuff usually are these days 12 months out of the year. They're at full capacity, 98% full. In the past, once the season in the springtime weather got warmer, our resource centers, beds, and our utility and our reduced number of people in the shelters reduced. Nowadays, they're at 100% capacity year round. So in the wintertime, we're flexing up to do that, and right now we're looking for an additional 400 beds because we need additional 400 beds. And we're working with the state and the county on how we can alleviate that problem. A winter overflow is supposed to do a lot of that, but we didn't reach the goal there. And I say we, that's state and county-wide.
Are there plans for more of these mobile, whatever?
We're the micro shelters. I wish there was if there was more funding and we have a place to put them, they could do that. Our state legislators are having a hard time giving the homeless director the funding that they're asking for. And also we need to find, pardon? Yeah, he's a director. We asked for 150 million, they give us 50 million. This is statewide. These are big numbers. This is statewide. When I don't say solid, this is statewide. Part of it is that those micro shelters, they're working, We don't have a location to do all that. We don't have the land to put those units down right now. And that's the difficult part right now. I'm really talking a lot here, so.
You're the last one. So
Okay, on that same note of the homeless side of the house there. And if you're tired of listening about the homeless, just raise your hand and tell me to shut up, but there's. Right now, the model has been a diversified model, and studies have showed you diversify the model, you put people up in different locations. You mix the uses there, you spread it out the locations, and it also provides it's a better way to integrate them into also the community, because a lot of them are, some of them are working and they have all different needs. And it's also with the housing first, get them a place to stay, a stable place. Now, housing for homeless is not housing for you. Housing for homeless is a roof with a bed. Maybe a bathroom, that's a community bathroom, a community shower, but that is that. I'm not saying your private spot where you actually have a lock on your door. That's the next step up. So there's all different sides of this, of the housing, the homeless, housing for the homeless. And we need that across the board. At all those different levels, because we have all these different issues, and we need, some of that has to be supported by social workers and caregivers. And because they need help, because they have a lot of issues going on. And so we want to provide them housing, and then when we stabilize the housing, then we can work on the mental side of the house, we can work on the addiction side of the house, we can work on other different things that they have, anger side of the house, all those issues. So then we can find them work, and then we can stabilize them, and then we can move them into different places. That's kind of like diversified, that's also the housing first. There's another model called campus model, and that's where a lot of people are, there are some leaders in the leadership world are moving towards. I'm not in favor of that, and our homeless director is not in favor of that, but it's getting traction. It's called a campus model, which basically means you put everybody together in one location. You have an incentive for them to go move up the ladder if they do things well, and then but I'm not sure what the exit strategy is from that. And the campus model is that you put them all in the same area. Well, that could be a huge campus. And where do you put this huge campus? And now you're basically building a town of homeless, mentally ill people in one section of somewhere, and now you're segregating them from the rest of the population. So then it's very difficult for them to get healthy and move out. That's my opinion on a lot of that, but also that's what the campus model is. And we're looking at they approved to look at a 1,200 bed campus model. Don't know where that location is going to be. But yeah, so that's where we sit on that one. Just giving you the lay of land, and that would be the big discussion items in the near future. That's all I have.
We are separating the different, they're like four subgroups of ones. But it's those who are down, there's those who have addiction, there are those who have mental health problems. Anyway, the point is, we do separate those because their needs are different, correct? In our facilities today.
Well, I would, there may be big groups, what you just talked about right there, those four groups. But there's individuals that meet all four of those groups. So part of the intercept model is that you want to intercept people before they go to jail at different stages, right? And then also that causes the health problem and a mental problem. So if we can get them early on as young kids, we can help their social skills there, their mental illness skills as a kid, then they have less of a chance of going forward. If their families, they have an issue, if we can keep them together and we can give them the house so that they have stability there, then we can work on their mental or addiction challenges. Because those, again, spread the gamut of issues. And then if you take care, if you hold the criminals over here, because some of those criminals are having other issues down here. You take care of those, you take care of the housing there, you take care of the people with the mental and addiction problems here, giving them supportive care at the levels that they need and the house that they need. Now they can stabilize. If you have the people that are in the jails or going through the jail system, the judicial system, and they don't have a good exit and support at that point, they're just going to go right back into it. And then it's just going to be a vicious circle and it's going to turn. So you need to take care of them with a lot of support. And then you have those that just want to live out in the streets. And then you have the criminals. Now, if you take care of the mental side of the house, the family side of the house, and the youth side of the house, that is about 80 to 90% of your problem. Now you can focus in on some of the smaller problems, which is the criminal side. And the criminal element is based on, we didn't do a good job early on. So they end up being the hardened criminals. So that's why we want to keep them out of jail, keep those who are causing problems out of jail, because once they go into jail, they become hardened and then that problem escalates. And so it's not just like a simple, hey, pick yourself up in your bootstraps, we'll give you a job. Yeah. So there's some different levels there, but also a drug addict, if you ever worked with drug addicts, they don't go into addiction recovery once. They go into it a dozen times. So that needs some help. And if you restrict some places so much, then they're going to be out in the streets, and then they're not going to get help. But you have to also have a bed. You also have to have a bed for them. You have to also have a bed for them.
You say you can't do drugs, you don't have a roof over your head. No, it's not gonna get people.
But you're not gonna get, but also you need to find them a place to stay, because but you also have to. But the hard part is we don't have those addiction beds, we don't have those mental health beds. That's what we're trying to get. And that's also a federal problem house. The feds only restrict a location to having 16 beds in a location. They don't give you any more funding if you have more than 16 beds. So the locations only have 16 mental beds. Now you also have to have a place for that person to exit. And they need that exit strategy to go on. They can't just all stay there. So all these issues are not simple, oh, I fixed this one, because it's across the board. Yes, we need to have these people find support for their drug addiction, but you can't, there's too big of an issue, and they can't do it by themselves, and they're gonna have to go in multiple times to get done help, and we need a bed for them. So that's
by saying you can't be
it's I wish the housing is what we're rare. So anyway, thank you. Well, I don't remember the number. But we actually, for Utah, for states wise, we're in much better shape than other places. But homelessness and those who are unsheltered, who are living on couches and stuff, increases the cost of living. And right now, Utah is number 8 in a housing cost. 8th across the nation. We're 8th. Nationwide, we're the 8th highest state. It's like Hawaii, California, DC, Massachusetts, a couple other places, and we're number 8. Utah. All right, thanks. Appreciate it.
Hey, Dan, what is going on with that soccer thing over at Leonard Park?
Jill Love is
Oh, I counted 97 kids before I came over here and oh yeah, I'm gonna count the cards, but there were way too many.
So Jill Love of the city is she's the chief of staff. COO. Deputy mayor.
No, she's
COO.
the administrative, so she's the.
She is in touch with public lands and GN on assessing that issue and working with that company. So I'm letting her know it. She's very involved. She walks by the park quite a bit. She's close by. So she's working that, and she's understanding that issue. and seeing that they're leaving their goals up there and other things, so.
Six keys on that.
Yeah, yeah, and she's well aware, because we talked about it on Tuesday.
Great, thank you. That's the end of the meeting, so thanks for coming. Appreciate it.